Hello, and welcome back to the Sunday special episode of the U Up Podcast. I'm Jordana Abraham.
And I am Jared Freed. It is so good to be back here with you, Jordana, but it is especially good to be here with our very special guest, a hilarious comedian. Their Netflix special is out right now. It's called Big Guy. It's out. It's streaming. It's hilarious. Rachel Feinstein, thank you for coming on.
Thank you. Thank you for having me in this attractive building. Everybody in here is so attractive.
Isn't it hot in here?
Yes.
That's how we hire.
I know. I was like, yeah, when I came in, I just felt like this film on me. I realized how dirty I was in comparison. Everybody's like just so tanned and spotless, just always like stainless ladies in here, and I just feel kind of rancid.
Happy you brought it up. We discussed that before. We're like, we should maybe not have her on.
Attractive, everyone is. Oh.
She's here and she's disgusting. What should we do?
I do. I always feel like I'm getting foundation on something in a building like this.
No, you look great. I love your t-shirt.
Like, did I just get base on this chair? Thank you. Thank you so much.
And I watched your Netflix special a couple times, and it's so funny. So congrats.
Thank you so much.
It's hysterical.
Thank you for watching it.
Of course. And I loved, you talk about your relationship with your husband a lot, which, is perfect for this show.
This is a dating podcast.
Yes.
And you talk about how you've married into the world of firefighters.
That's right.
When
Yes.
how did you meet your husband? How do you meet a firefighter? And because the firefighter thing is almost been like, lampooned enough that it's almost like ridiculous.
Yes, exactly. I would never have been like, I'm going to try to meet a fireman. I always assumed they got like a surplus of ass. I didn't need to contribute to that. Like,
is that true?
Surplus of ass. Bring in the
That's
ass.
my grandmother said. She said
The
that there's
firefighters
too much
are-
pussy and there's a surplus. So it's better if you crunch the numbers that you found someone with a different profession, because puss-wise, they do very well.
that was Rosalind Schneider that said that.
that was-
God rest
I
her
mean,
soul.
I get it. There's a whole Sex in the City episode about that.
Yeah.
Right?
I would have thought it would be kind of like hacky to even try to go for a fire. I definitely wouldn't think some fireman's going to want to be with the loud
Like
Jewish
what-
comic.
Want to settle down? Because
Yeah.
there's the firefighter calendars. Like,
yeah, I wasn't.
they-
No, I wasn't trying. I was trying to meet somebody though. Like I was on every app, and I stopped and I like worked on it like it was a job.
What do you mean? What did you work on?
I'd been on the road doing stand up forever, which had sort of broken up every one of my relationships. Guys always thought it was like vaguely amusing in the beginning. And then at a certain point they were like, yeah, well, I think I'm going to find a different woman that can like go to weddings with me and shit,
Like they didn't take it seriously, or they kind of just were like not looking for that lifestyle.
Yes, that not looking for that lifestyle. Yeah,
okay.
like I dated this guy. I remember he took me out to dinner and I thought he was going to propose and he asked me to quit my job.
You thought he was going to propose?
How long were you together?
I didn't even realize how funny it was until
Oh my God. Wait, you thought he was going to propose? What? Because I love this. I mean, need to stay there for a second, because I feel like this happens a lot in people in long-term relationships where one person's like, he's going to propose any day now. And the guy is just thinking about how he's going to like break up with her.
Yeah, dump
Right.
her.
For like
Yeah.
for that entire
I'm
time.
that girl.
And it's just so funny to see like two people could be on complete opposite sides.
Who literally sleep in the same bed.
Right.
Yeah.
And, they're
Yeah.
thinking, and they think their relationship is just headed in two completely different
Completely
places.
different
Yeah.
I was opening up my body language for a compliment. This happens to me a lot where I'm just like, okay, what'll it be? And he's like, I remember also I think it's
How long were you together?
particularly obnoxious to take a woman out to dinner to tell her to quit her job. There's something hilariously
Right.
awful about
I guess
that.
he's paying.
Yeah,
Right,
exactly.
okay.
Yeah, fuck right off. He took me out to dinner and he was just like, "You're not going to do stand up for the rest of your life." He kind of like lifted my chin up too. The more I think about this, what a douche.
Hey, babe.
He like gingerly lifted my chin up and he's like, "Hey, you're not gonna keep that career going on, are you?" And I was like, I was gonna be like, "No, I'm just a pointless hole. I don't need to do anything at all. You're right. I'll just be your appendage, your property." Yes.
How old were you when this happened? Like what were like the
33.
you're 30, and so you're doing stand up a long time at that point. Like
a long time.
Like
Yeah.
you're this is your career.
Mm-hmm.
You're dating him for how long?
Like 5 years or so.
So this is 5 years in.
Yeah, it was a while.
And you're like, here comes the proposal, and he's like, I
Had you talked
propose that
about-
you.
That
We'd sort of loosely talked about it, but we were fighting a lot as well because I feel, and it seemed like a lot of the fights were surrounded around my suitcase. Like he's always, "You leave your shit out." But I feel like it was literally about my suitcase a lot. Like it was always like, "Your clothes are everywhere," because he hated my suitcase because he hated my traveling.
he hated your
The
job.
suitcase
Hated
was
my
a
job.
metaphor.
Yeah. I mean, I'm
break up?
impressed that he was able to say that. Yes, we broke up.
I mean, obviously broke up at this point, but like, do you break up because you wouldn't quit your job, or did you break up because he wasn't proposing?
We broke up because I wouldn't quit my job. I wasn't in a rush to get married at that time, but I was like, why not? That's kind of nice. Yeah, but it was like I wasn't trying when I really wanted to get married. I like stopped shit down. I was like, I gotta. I worked on it.
Well, I guess so one more thing about the guy breaking up.
What about that guy? One thing about that guy who
I've been
wanted you to
dumped
give
so
up your
many
whole life.
times that I really started to think it's so funny because I never expect that. I'm always like eating a bagel or something, and I'm like, oh, mate, like
out of nowhere. Well,
Who are you talking to?
Well, tell me if you agree with my theory that men kind of like don't really tell you. Like men, I think, are more likely to just silently be thinking about how they want to break up with you. And then break up with you. Like there's not as many warning signs as when a woman wants to break up with a man. She's just like, please change, please change, please change, please change. And he's like, and then she breaks up with him and he's like, what? Why did that happen?
Yes, I absolutely agree with everything you just said. Yes. I can add much to it. It's completely true. Yeah.
What was did he make a lot of money? Like, what did he expect? Like, I don't understand. Like, when someone has a career, like, it's not like you were
he didn't
also
make
a
that much money. He
scientist.
didn't make enough money to tell me to quit my job.
That's what I'm saying.
Sure.
Like,
no, he wasn't doing.
If you're like proposing this, it's like, what else were you gonna do? Like, what was his thinking?
I think like he wanted me to. I think he wasn't like the whining and dining type either. The more you think about it, the more ridiculous it all is. But I mean, he had a job, and at that time, like if you had a pretty good job, I don't want to get like too highly specific on here because you could very much hear me saying, and probably could still, if you watch this, know immediately I was talking about him. But I mean, he had like a good enough job, but it was not like he wasn't like making a lot of money. He was just like, and I think at that time, if a guy had a job, this is gonna sound so sad, but if a guy had like a job at an apartment in New York, I thought he was like a rock star. I just put him on such a pedestal.
Right.
Like I was just like, and he likes me, and like I thought I'd won the lottery. Like it's dark terrain we're in now, but yeah.
So what did you do to work on finding a husband, as you put it? Like, what was the work you did?
Okay, so like I was going on these dates on like Bumble and stuff, and like with a lot of people, it was just date after date, just horrific. I remember I went out with this one guy. I kept going out with guys that were definitely gay, and I feel like they didn't realize it. There's no sadder feeling than getting a blowout, just like getting your body prepped for a man whose worst nightmare would be to be inside you.
Yeah, it's true. I mean, it's very expensive.
Yeah,
a lot of time and money. Yeah, that's why a bad date sucks so much more for women, I think.
Yeah, and they always say like cut out the banter or whatever, but I would still put way too much into these interactions before the date, and then I'd get on and just like I could tell already. Like again, I remember one guy complimenting my A-line skirt. There is no straight man that knows
He
like
said A-line?
He said the words A-line.
skirt.
Yeah.
Yeah. I didn't even know what that was because I didn't have like sisters.
I wouldn't know that.
Until
I got married. I don't think I knew what any shape was
he was
for
like,
any dress.
ooh, A-line, that's fun. And I'm like, God damn it. I fucking shaved for
another
this?
one.
How did you go from that then to a firefighter, who to me is almost like the like the stereotypical epitome of masculinity?
Well, there was my brother had this friend in high school, and she was like got everything she wanted. And when she was in high school, this girl Jackie, and she was like, I'm gonna move to New York, and I'm gonna be in my own PR firm, and I'm gonna do all these things. And she just like moved to New York, and she did all the things she said she was gonna do in high school, like when we were all shit faced, saying all manner of nonsense. So I asked her to lunch, and I was like, and she had a pretty cool husband and a crazy career, and I was like, what do you do? What do I do? And she was like, like that.
She
I
had
like women
answers.
like that. Yes.
Okay.
I like women that are a lot, that'll hold me by my shoulders and be like, you do this and then you do that.
Right.
Right.
You
They're
know?
not vague. Okay.
Yes.
And
So she
and
was
they're like confident. Like this is like, you're doing everything wrong. Do as I do now.
There is something soothing about that.
Yes.
Yeah,
I like
absolutely.
an Upper West Side bitch and Soul Cycle that's there before everybody else, that tells you what kind of shampoo to buy.
Yeah.
And she's like, if you don't do that, then all your hair's going to fall out.
Right.
Because I'm like, I could go either way. I'm always been like that. Like I could relate to other people's choices more than my own. Like I needed a bitch like that.
You need
like
a person with no empathy
She want to hear
whatsoever.
about my childhood or like who hurt me, could give a flying fuck.
Right.
Like,
Here's what you're going to do.
Yeah. She's like, she
So
doesn't
you
want to
sat
know.
with her as
Yeah.
like a meeting, like help my life.
Yes, I actually am surprised I did this, but I
Okay.
did. Yeah,
And-
I just kept it because I always had her in my mind, and I
You-
was just like,
For dating specifically?
I was like, she just gets what she wants. She's got like the right husband for her. And
I-
she just has an effortlessness.
I
to
like
her.
this as far as like, you know, this podcast, we're all talking out of our asses about
Sure.
dating all the time. But there are things to like, you know, this is the learning moment. Everyone has someone like that in their life.
A friend, yeah.
A friend
Yes.
or like friend of friend.
Or a mom. Some people's moms are like that.
Moms
Yeah.
that honestly they would like this woman probably thought it was not weird at all that you would ask her for how to do her life. Like,
she's used to that.
right.
Oh,
this
yeah.
is-
On the contrary, she's probably like flattered. by
Right.
it. She's like,
Yeah.
of course I know what to do.
right.
She was like, yes, of course. Okay.
So-
So he has she was not surprised.
Right.
So
She's like,
someone
"Let's get
out there
into it."
might have a friend like this or know someone like this that they're like, well, I'm not going to call them. They might think it's weird. They won't think it's weird.
Yeah, and I don't do things like this, by the way, because I'm a comedian where our lives are insane. I don't like seek out lunch. I don't try to pick people's brains.
Right.
I don't like my brain picked. I'm like,
Right.
beat
Right.
it. Get away from my
Almost-
brain.
Can I pick your brain is the worst
There's
email.
no
Yeah.
more infuriating question. So I don't usually do this, but something in me just was like, I always had her in my mind. I always thought it was cool as shit that she said from very young that this is what she was going to do, and she fucking did it. And I always pay attention to people like that.
So you go
So
talk
she was
to her.
basically just like, work on it like it's a job. Don't sit there and like, oh, I'm not feeling this and I'll just stop or whatever. And I was like, but you don't understand, the dates I'm going on are violently awful. Like this man was like swinging his little dainty ankles in this chair. I still remember how angry he was, pumping like he was on a swing, just complaining about his ex-wife.
Talking
That's
about
all he
A-line
talked about.
skirts.
Yes, my A-line skirt and his ex-wife Diane.
We all have a date, I feel like, that makes us rethink how we're doing
Yeah.
our entire lives.
Of course, right?
Like,
Yeah.
why are we here?
Like I had a guy narrate a date once for me. I talked about it on stage a long time ago, but I was in the middle of the date and he's like, tonight I met a very special girl.
Oh my
She,
God.
She made me laugh. She made me think.
He said this to your face.
Oh yeah. And he's like, she made me think. And then he just stopped and like kind of waited, like with this dumb trick in his eyes, like I was gonna be like, oh, I'm sick of guessing. I want to know who the girl in that riddle is. And he kind of lifted my chin up again, just
Well,
like that guy that dubbed
a
me.
lot
He
of
was like,
people
"That
lift your
special
chin.
girl
Wow.
is you."
Here the
It might
the
be
men
because
are
I'm just kind of slouched or something.
Look at me.
yeah.
Yeah.
Lift
Upright,
it up.
But he was like, that special girl is you. And he thought he was going to like insert himself inside me. after
People,
that.
you know, why do men get like, oh, you know, why is it so easy to talk about men on these dates? Because no man thinks that he's doing dating wrong. You know,
Right.
and they're not looking for fixing or no. I go on dates and I tell women, you know, I speak in the third person. That's my move, and so that's why these stories are so funny.
Women
like,
love that.
right? Like I'm like, right. Every woman I've been out with likes what I do. Yeah.
Yeah, you're absolutely right.
So these stories, like, you know, people always ask, you know, me for bad date stories. I'm like, they're not really getting that. They're not that varied. You know, when I'm on a first date, there's no woman that's like, so Jessica gets what she wants. You know, like
Right,
it's
yeah.
just never happened.
that
You know,
ludicrous.
it's not. Yeah, they're not as wild. So
yeah, I had a guy once take a big duffel bag and he opened it up. He actually was over at my house because he was friends with my roommate, and he opened up the duffel bag on the date, or not a date rather. He was trying to like pursue me, and this is how he let me know. And he just started dumping rose petals out of a dumb man, heinous man duffel, like an army bag onto me. And that was his way of like courting me. I have never laughed so hard in my life. Like I was
he just brought a bag of petals.
Like something you would bring to like a ransom situation.
Yeah.
Right.
Instead of money, like folds of bills.
And he really
petals.
thought after that he would just be like, I don't know, just knee deep in tittage or something.
Yeah,
I don't know. It was
game
like,
over.
This will be all it takes. So
So
just dump some dumb petals on her rack or something.
So Diane Keaton tells you
You've got to
you
take
gotta
dating
take
seriously.
dating seriously,
Right.
and now you're like,
She's
so
like,
now-
have no fun with it. Just keep going, even
She
if
was
you
like,
don't like
just
it.
do it. What do you mean? Like I was like, you don't understand. These are awful. Like I was like
Yeah.
giving her, and I was like talking about like past trauma. She's like, not
I don't give a
drama.
shit about
Like,
any of
yeah,
that.
she doesn't give a shit.
Yeah, she's like,
She's
I don't
like,
want to know
stop your
what
complaining.
fucking triggers you, you
Right.
dumb twat. Here's how you get a husband. Get out, and I got at fucking 4 p.m. after this.
So,
yeah.
Does it work?
where did the?
Yeah, I mean, basically,
where'd you
well,
find
her
the
advice was
firefighter?
basically just like carve out time for it the way I'm a workaholic. It's like the way you do with your work and do it. And she did it in a way that was insane to me. Like she
How'd
did
she
it
do
like
it?
2 dates a night. She's like 7 and
dates a night.
8. I would do a 7 like at 8:30 and I wouldn't do the 8:30 if the 7 went well. But that's how she did it. She did it like, and I couldn't do it like that.
So
But
basically,
I did it like I did for me, which was a lot, which was probably like 2 or 3
Committing
dates a
to
week.
going on
Yeah,
a certain
I was like,
number
I'm
of
gonna
dates
do
a
it.
week.
I
yeah.
guess her advice is like, I want to rack up so many people that I can zone in on someone that I really like out of all this garbage and trash.
Yeah, she was
Is that-
basically just like, it's like anything else. Keep going. Like, it's just keep
Right.
doing it. And there's not like a reason that you're feeling a certain way. And stop like asking yourself all these dumb questions about your feelings. She's like, yeah, it's awful until it's not awful because you're sitting across from somebody that's not
So
awful.
She
with
kind
you.
of saw it as like cold calling. She's like, every
Yeah.
no is one no away from getting to a yes. Is
Yeah.
like kind of
You're
how
right.
she looked
Interesting.
at
You're
it.
right. It was a business perspective.
Yeah.
I mean, it
Right.
worked for me. I mean,
So how did it work? When did it work?
So I was going online. I was online dating. I met this FBI agent that I really liked. Then that didn't work out. And I was like,
I remember when you were dating the
remember?
FBI,
FBI
agent.
agent.
I remember
Wow.
this.
Was it a
the
secret?
gun?
yes.
Oh,
And he had a
CIA.
gun.
Yes, and I
Secret.
loved that he had a gun that he would like. And also, I was.
I
also
remember you
really
talking. We
surprised
talked
that-
about this in the cellar once. You would like put the gun on the table or something,
I
right?
was always shocked by like you would think that an FBI agent would have a very specific place for his gun. He would just hurl it in the sink. Oh my gosh, shit! Which, by the way,
Terrifying.
was so hot to me because it's everything opposite of what I come from. I talk about it in the special. Like my dad has like a never-ending sinus infection, and this dude just comes home, just this fucking veteran alcoholic, and throws a gun in his sink. It's great.
Love it.
But he was very emotionally kind of out of it, and so like,
Oh, really?
yeah.
The guy who tosses
Guy
his
tossing
gun in
his
the
gun,
sink
yeah.
has some emotional.
So anyway, I had like, you know, a little, I had like a mini thing with him for like a few months, but it was not right. And then she was like, well, ask people to set you up. And my therapist said the same thing. So I asked everybody and nobody knew of anybody. And I just kept asking people every week, just being this annoying bitch. And then I was sitting with my friend at the steakhouse bar because I heard men hang out at steakhouses on Millionaire Matchmaker.
Wow.
So you're
Amazing.
sitting there in front of a fillet.
Not you're like you don't even eat steak. You're just-
Right.
I would go
At
to
the
like,
bar?
I would go
What
to, like,
steakhouse?
Keen's Steakhouse.
You went to
I have
Keen's?
heard of people meeting at steakhouses.
You've heard of this too?
Yes, I know
Okay.
someone who met their second husband at a steakhouse.
I still
Really?
think it's a good idea. Even
at
though
the
I
bar.
didn't score at a steakhouse, I think it's a good idea.
yeah. Sit at the
Well,
bar, order-
sitting at the bar is
Yeah.
very male too.
Yeah,
Like
sitting in
I
the
like
bar.
to be at the
You
bar.
ever met a
and-
woman sitting at the bar eating
Oh,
dinner?
absolutely.
Yeah.
I met women. I'm a bar guy.
So
I
she
love
was,
the
she
bar.
was on the right track.
Yeah.
Somebody once asked it. They were like, they might think you were a prostitute, and I was so flattered.
Interesting.
Me?
Yeah, shit. You shouldn't.
Do you think people pay for it?
What's wrong with me? How dark is it that I was like, that was one of the most flattering things anyone has said to me.
So you're at Keen's sitting in front
So
of
I
a
was
New
at
York
Keen's,
strip.
My friend Irene Bremis, she's another comedian. She's
I
very
know
funny and
Irene,
hilarious.
yeah.
Yes, and she's like always been hot her whole life, so she has like the confidence of somebody that's never not
Irene's
been hot.
Irene's
Yeah.
like hot, like a hot and hot to trot.
Yeah.
Like is like she's just like your friend
got it.
Diane. Like it's just like
Got it going on.
she walks in a room, everyone's like, "What's with you know?" Like it's like she's like movie entrance
very, like,
hot.
Those people are fun to go
sexy
out
and
with.
hot.
Sexy,
Yes.
yeah.
And they'll get things going with guys. Because
Right.
as extrovert as I am on stage, I would just sit there and kind of like just rock and stare yearningly at people. I wasn't going to actually start conversations. So she came out with me. But what ended up happening that night was that we started talking to somebody, or a guy tapped me on my shoulder, and he pointed out this painting of this really like soft, kind of like large woman above the bar at Keen's, and he was like, "Is that you? Are you her?" Like, and I thought it was such a funny line that I was like, "Whoever this is, like, help me that person." And I turned around, and he was just this curled elder, like just so old, it was like osteoporosis old. I was like, "Fuck!" And she goes, "You know what, sweetheart?" She was like, "You should meet a fireman." And then she's like, "I'm gonna get a fireman for you." So she texted her husband. She's married to a retired firefighter, and she's like, "Get me a fireman for Rachel. She's going to steakhouses every night. Like, she's not well, but she's
Right.
okay." And she was like, important. And then he sent her back 2 options, like really
Right
fast.
away.
Yes. And
Wow.
he gave her 2, like, and it was like 1-2 at the firehouse he was at. And I was like, I chose Pete. And he looked like, I thought he looked really hot in the photo, but I was like, this guy's a douche. Like, this guy is going to blow me off. And I'm not what he wants. But I was like, whatever.
What made you
He's
think
hot.
he was a douche?
I'll show you the picture, but he was like shirtless, greased, like
How did-
making muscles like this, but
Okay.
he
Wait,
was
how did
holding,
her
like,
husband get this picture?
He was exactly. That's what still is very
That's what
confusing
they
to me.
do in the firehouse.
Right.
Yeah, but it was like a Facebook picture, and like,
Okay.
and he was like holding a trophy. I think he was just like, he looked like, you know, he just won some volleyball tournament or something like that. I was like, this guy probably gets like mountains of ass, but he's
Right.
hot, but he looked fun.
So you assumed he was gonna
Yeah.
like hook up with you and then not call you again.
Yeah, but I was still like, why not? Yeah.
Right.
So I'm gonna say no to that. Yeah.
Right.
So and then we were supposed to go to this FDNY Christmas party in Brooklyn, and the next week to meet him, my friends all called him Backdraft. They're like, "Oh, you gonna go meet Backdraft? Come on! I thought you want to get married." I'm like, "Yeah, but I still want to meet Backdraft. I mean, come on."
It's a firefighter movie.
So
For the listeners at home in Jordana, that's a firefighter
Oh,
movie.
I didn't know what that
Yeah.
I've never even seen it, but yeah, it's a firefighter. movie.
Okay.
Yeah.
Good to know.
Yeah, and so she was like, "Are you gonna go meet?" You know, I'm like, "Yeah." So I was getting a cab, and by the way, I had two girlfriends over at my house this day. We were all hanging out at my place at the Upper West Side. And I was like, "I'm going to meet Backdraft." They're like, "Where?" And I'm like, "At this FDNY Christmas party." Like, "We're coming." They all came, you know, and one of my friends met a fireman that night, had sex with them. She later said that they were arguing about something, and she's like, "Can you get his name?" I'm like, "What are you guys arguing about?" She's like, "It's a dumb thing on text." I'm like, "What? What would you argue with him about? You just hooked up with him." And she goes, "Whether or not we did anal."
Oh my god! Wow.
What side was she on?
Also, if anal's up
feel
in
like
the
you would
air,
know.
you did anal.
I
I,
think
Right.
you know.
That's why I'm like, wouldn't she know?
think she did.
So maybe
anal.
he's saying
Yeah.
they did anal, and she's like, no, I'm sitting pretty okay, you know, like.
Yeah.
I feel like they did anal.
I think they did too. That
Yeah.
seems
Alright.
like a weird thing to.
I feel like she was kind of like they were being playful about it, but she knew. Did they? You know, that's never up in the air.
Yeah, I think it's pretty clear. You can tell. I think your own body probably.
So
I
she's
imagine.
saying they did anal. That's why I'm wondering who's.
I mean, this
Who was
guy
saying they
was. They
did?
were
Yeah.
both so shit faced. It was like, I mean, it's anyone's guess who was taking advantage of who. You know, like
Right.
both of them were like zooming in the wrong direction when they left.
So
But anyway,
you
Backdraft
meet
comes to the bar.
Backdraft,
Yeah.
okay.
And it was just a fun night. I mean, imagine you're with a bunch of your girlfriends. We're the only girls in the whole bar. It's all like FDNY.
Oh,
It was
wow.
a fucking
You have your pick.
blast. Yeah.
Yeah.
It was great.
It was their Christmas party?
yeah, it was their Christmas party.
They
but
didn't-
it-
So they're getting
Were the only
hammered.
invited you guys?
Yes. And then for some reason, this firefighter, who was actually Irene's stepson, it wasn't her husband, it was her husband's son, who's also a firefighter. They got us those two options. So Junior is his name, and he worked at my husband's firehouse. But it wasn't, and so he brought Pete to meet me. And his description of Pete apparently was he called him up and said, "How would you like to meet a semi-famous Jewish
That was
jokester?"
hysterical. Yes.
To which my husband replied, "Single, ready to mingle." And nobody
Yes.
should have ever screenshot and sent me that text because I was like, "This guy's a wild moron." But I'll go there for
Ready
fun.
to mingle.
Yeah.
Love it.
Single,
Okay.
ready to mingle is so dumb.
Well, it could have gone
Yeah.
in so many other horrific
You're right.
directions.
That's true.
Like
Yeah.
single ready to mingle at least is like positive and
Right.
you know, I'm down.
So
you
you
know?
were in first, or he was in first?
He would wait, like in the bar, you mean?
No, like when you were set up, did your friend like send? Did he get your picture first and approve, or you picked
I think
first?
I got
and then-
his picture because I
Okay.
got like a couple. Like I got like it was like
You
a
got
dating
two,
show.
right? You
Right.
got two. So then,
Here are your
yeah,
firefighters.
I'm pretty sure, yeah, that he and I asked him if he Googled me or looked me up, and he said he just knew I was a comedian, and I wouldn't believe anybody else that didn't actually accept my husband because he doesn't like
Just not the
he's
type
not
to-
the guy.
right.
Pete's
Yeah.
a great guy, very nice.
Yeah.
He does not seem like the Googling type.
No.
I would. He doesn't seem like he would even like. It
No.
does seem like he would, after meeting him a little bit, that he'd go. They'd be like, "There's a woman that goes on a date with, wants to go on a date with you." He'd go, "Woman, date?
Yeah,
Okay."
that's exactly how he is.
Yeah.
He doesn't. You know when you go back over your relationship and you're like, when I did this, and were you thinking that? Like he wasn't.
yeah.
The
I have that
answer is
too.
yeah.
How
Really?
old
Your
was-
husband
no.
like that too?
Totally. Where I'm like, oh, in the beginning when I was like playing it like this, and he's like, I had no idea you were doing anything. And we're like, when I'm like, oh, when I looked at that Instagram picture of you and your ex from 2014, he's like, what? I'm like, yeah, like when you go through someone's picture, he's like, I never went through your pictures. I'm like from that. He's like, I didn't go that far. I went to like the first three.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
So what does your husband do, by the way?
He's an accountant.
An accountant?
Yes.
But is he kind of like just very by the books? Like there's never like a second thought. And
He's
he's
very
not-
straight edge by the books. I think predictable for
Yeah.
sure.
Yes, it's exactly
So
like
you
my
meet at
husband.
this party, you get hammered.
It's also
Do you
not
guys-
Jewish. I think that
Exactly.
contributes to that.
Yes.
Do you
Everything
go-
opposite.
Do you guys go home together the first night?
Oh, by the way, speaking of that, on our first night, he was like, I schlepped all the way over here. And I was like, I speak English. Like, you don't need to speak to me in Yiddish. Yeah.
Amazing.
So he kept saying Yiddish phrases. He's like, oh, I give
She's gonna love this.
Really?
Yeah.
Yes. And at first I was just like, this is ludicrous, you know? And
Right.
I was like, looking for a second firefighter at first because I was like, he's going to keep saying Yiddish shit to me, you know?
Right.
And then,
This is
but then-
fetish.
and then he was growing on me throughout the night because like I like when somebody will do like you'll go down a weird lane and they'll go there with you without questioning it. And like he's very much like a yes and person like that. Like so I'll just do dumb shit on dates that most guys might think is annoying. So like I ordered something and I asked him to reorder for me like what I really wanted. Like I wanted a chicken Caesar, but I was like I'm going to order like, you know, a burger and be like, you know, I think we're gonna have to do the Caesar for her. We're really kind of watching her, you know, her weight right now and her intake. And most guys would be like, no, I'm not doing that. But
He
he's
agreed
like,
to
yeah.
this?
Like, he,
Oh
like,
my
he,
He's
God.
like,
down
What did
for
the
it.
waiter say?
he was disgusted with him. It was
Right.
terrific. Yeah, he'll still do that shit with me. Like he infuriates me a lot, and that's what my special a lot is about. He always kind of emotional desert. But in terms of being down for a joke, he'll do whatever. Like if we're
Right.
out somewhere in a store,
Right.
I'm always like pick my arm up really high and be like, "We're leaving here right now," you know. And that's it. And I'll be like, I don't want to go. I want to keep shopping. And he'll still do that with me. He'll
Oh
like
my
take this
God.
big example
I
arm.
love that.
And I think shit like that makes me laugh so hard. So he's always down for
Down
like,
for a little
Good.
prank.
care.
A little domestic abuse act
Yeah,
out
Mike
keeps the
Mike
fire
won't let me
alive.
do those. It's very annoying.
Really? Do you like that
He's
kind
such
of
a-
stuff
He's such a
too?
square. Yeah.
Yeah, I think just being a general moron in public. He doesn't care at all. He doesn't
Yeah.
get embarrassed
That
at all.
first night you guys meet,
Mhm.
what's the next move?
So I remember at like a certain point during the night, so Irene was getting drunker and she had like wine kind of teeth and she was like, sweetie. She's like, kept like giving me warnings. I was pretty lit myself. But she was like, she kept being like, sweetie, don't talk politics, sweetie. Remember the pension. She kept saying that. She was like, pension, sweetie, no politics.
What year is
sweetie." This is 2016.
Okay.
And well,
That's a
it
very
is-
2016
Yeah.
comment.
Well, that's a very
Yeah.
big part of the special is like
Right.
you're learning about this totally different world. Like
Yes.
we know firefighters because we learn about them when we're toddlers, but you don't really know what the lay of the land is.
What
like
the
when you talk
culture's
about
like,
the
yeah.
culture, like you
Yeah.
talk about cash, they
Cash, they
like,
do everything in cash. Like my dad's
Yeah.
a lawyer. Everything is about like, you know, if they're careful. They're people that fucking read contracts. You know, my husband
Right.
bought our house for, like he bought Bitcoin from a guy named Gino in a deli and then bought our house with it.
How do you get Bitcoin and like not online?
I don't know. It's so boring. I haven't
Hands
asked
you a
any follow-up
Bitcoin.
There you
questions.
go.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But they like shake hands on it and then he comes by. That's actually one of the jokes in the special. It's like, I
Yes.
don't understand why these men need to come over to buy Bitcoin from you. I don't get it. I think it has something to do with like their digital wallet. Somebody tell me, please, in the comments. I don't know.
This is
But,
the
yeah.
wrong crowd.
I
to
think
be
it
asking.
has
I
to do
don't
with
think
like
this is-
downloading something that you need to get the bit, mining it or something. It's so boring. I don't know. But it's the reason that we have him screaming about the government got us a house because he was always like yelling about it. Whenever he used to drink, he would like be always like yelling about the founding fathers or some horse shit. Firemen love Bitcoin and they love like screaming about the founding fathers. And they would, I feel like
can
half
see
of them
that.
would like just,
Does he-
I shouldn't say this.
How do you deal with the schedules? Does he sleep at the firehouse?
Yeah.
Do you
Sleep
like
at the firehouse, gonna sleep there tonight.
he's
Yeah.
gonna sleep there? Is that good? Did you like that? Did you not like that? You're starting to get to know this guy. You're getting to know this world. Like, what?
Did you ever
know?
sleep at the firehouse with him?
That would be
Doesn't
hot.
work
No.
like that.
Now,
No.
is it hot? Is the firefighter lifestyle hot?
Yes and no. Like it infuriates me in a million ways because like you can't. I joke about this in the special, but it's true. Like I'm like, imagine if your husband was just living with like 12 of his dumbest friends for half your marriage. It's not good. Like you think these men come up with better ideas together? No, they undo everything I've accomplished.
They're, right.
Yeah,
They're
It
ju-
sounds
with,
fun.
At the end of the day, he's still with 12 other dudes. Like my husband has an accent that seems like it's like a cartoon. Like I think it's
Right.
getting. I can't tell if it's getting better because it's actually getting better, if I've just heard him speak more. But like when I first met him, it was like firefighter, like FIYAFIDA.
Firefighter.
Yeah, and his brother has no accent whatsoever. And I asked his brother, who works in like finance, I'm like, Mike, why do you have no accent at all? And Pete has like a cartoon of a Brooklyn accent. And he's like, it's because of the firehouse. It's the same reason that he
Right.
screams about the founding fathers.
Right.
There's no like evolution of thinking. It's kind of like, you know how they say when somebody's like a throbbing alcoholic that they stop developing the moment their brain stops developing emotionally the moment they start drinking alcoholically. I think the same thing is for firemen. Like they're not gonna like get emotionally smarter, like having sleepovers with men.
Right.
Yeah, that's
Right.
when it stopped. When he started sleeping at a house.
So it's almost
for
like
half
he's
the
in
week.
he's in like a fraternity half the time.
Absolutely, yeah.
Okay.
So, schedule wise, I don't mind it that much because he works like I work. Like he's like works on Christmas. He works on, you know, like he's never mad when I can't do something.
Right.
And he's the first guy that doesn't care because his life is like my life. And he's almost like an accidental feminist because he doesn't care what I'm up to. He loves his job. Firemen love being firemen. Like they're really into it. I mean, they had like a Bloomberg article about like the top 10 most satisfied workers in America. And like they like being firefighters. So he has his thing the way I have mine. So he doesn't question. He's not
He hasn't
jealous.
asked you to quit your job yet?
Could give a fuck. I wish he would,
Funny.
honestly, because he's like the least jealous person. Like I'd like some amount of jealousy. It'd
I
be nice.
agree.
Do you
I
ever
say
get-
that all the time.
yeah.
Yeah.
Really?
I
Is
get
your
annoyed.
husband
My
the same
husband's
way?
not jealous, and I'm like,
Yeah.
I don't want him to be like a lunatic. Like I don't want him to be scary, but I want him to be like, who's that?
Yeah.
Like I want him to. I'm like, why don't you stalk me? Like why haven't you ever stalked me
Yeah.
on Instagram or anything? Like you don't even know what my past was like. He's like, well, I care about the present. I'm like, that's deranged.
Just a little. Yeah. Like
Yeah.
I feel like I'd have to go missing for weeks before he would look for me.
I've had that conversation. How long, if I didn't come home, how long until you call the cops? He was like 24 hours. I was like, that seems like a little bit
That's too
long.
long. I feel like that's too long.
That's too long.
I would be.
He's like, I don't really want to like start anything. I'm like, I might be like kidnapped. I've had this exact fight. It's so funny.
I would be so surprised. Like after that fight, I'd be like, I didn't even know a fight was coming. This is the
Yes.
weirdest hypothetical.
You have to get creative to start fights after a while. If things
Yeah.
are going well, you need to like, dig deep.
Yeah, it's like he's almost like an accidental feminist because like he wouldn't care what I do. He doesn't care where I go or whatever. There's no jealousy. I'm my own entity, but not in a way that's particularly flattering to me. Like I'd like him to care a little, you know. Like I went by the firehouse one time and like he's the captain at this firehouse because they jump around, so they don't always work at the same house. So I stop by the firehouse. They don't know that I'm Pete's wife, right? So they call him Kip. So I bring a box of cookies, but there's like a tie on them, like from a bakery. And they don't like when people bring weird shit from outside, like homemade stuff, because it skeeves them out. Just like some lady's strange, like, gangrenous
Wait a
pie.
minute.
They get a
Do
lot
they
of
get like
gifts?
fans? Is it like women
Yeah.
just show up
Yeah,
with
it's kinda
like,
like that.
really? They're like, hey boys. They're
Well,
like,
are they like, oh, I'm gonna like do a nice thing and bring these like hardworking firefighters?
Oh,
some
it's
cookies?
like
Yeah,
a
sometimes I
good
think it's
deed.
like older women in the like neighborhood. Like it's not necessarily all like young women that want to fuck firefighters, but I think people from the neighborhood bring by weird, suspicious, casseroles and
And
stuff, and they always joke about how disgusting it is. Like they're not
Right.
gonna eat this random shit from a stranger any more than anyone else would.
it's probably
you know?
stuff they want to get rid of too.
Right.
They're like, oh, the firefighters will eat anything.
exactly. So
Yeah.
I'm not homeless.
Well, they're just like, they'll be thankful, like.
Exactly. So I go by with this box of cookies and it had like a tie on it from the bakery. And I give it to one of the firefighters at the door and I go, don't worry, it's all tied up. It's from a bakery. And he goes, you like to be tied up?
What?
I was so excited because I was like, oh, this is fun. Like he's like flirting with me. And so the other firefighter looks at him. He doesn't know I'm Pete's wife, and he's like, hey, buddy, you want to take a walk for a second? And then he kind of walks him around the fire truck. He said they kick this long lap around the rig and he walks back. He's just like white as a sheet, like fucking traumatized. Because he thinks, his captain is about to clock him.
Oh,
Right.
okay, that makes sense.
Well, I just
Pete
like,
could give a fuck, right?
Right.
I wanted my husband to care so badly. He comes back. You can see that guy has a new nickname. Like he walks different,
Right.
He walks in. He's like, okay, buddy, you want to say anything? He's like, I'm sorry about the comment that I had made earlier. And he's like, it was like a thing.
Well, we were talking on the last episode about or not last episode, we've done these dating app profile makeovers. And there was a woman, you can see she's on the screen up there, but she had a picture of her like painting herself naked. And it's like, you have to understand, like, you're dealing with animals, like,
Disgusting
and it's like you walk into like the firehouse and this guy's like a total animal, and they get to be animals all day. It's 12 men being animals together. Woman walks in with don't worry, it's tied up. You like to be tied up? Oh my God, I lost myself. Like, it's like. It's just.
Meanwhile, what's wrong with me that I loved it? I was like, I guess I am a woman.
Same. I mean, you need a little. I mean, I feel like
Reminder.
you're not the jealous type either.
No.
Have you ever been jealous?
That's probably jealousy lives. I've been jealous, but when I was in relationships, it was like never thought twice.
So annoying.
So annoying.
Yeah.
Right.
Nobody's ever like treated me. No one has ever treated me like a precious commodity. No one's ever like tucked me in a car and referred to me as like precious cargo. And I was like, she's good to get there.
Right. Or like not ironically.
Yes, exactly. No, exactly. Never, it's always had to be a skit that I write all the lines for. Yeah, he's not jealous at all.
Sitting here with a full supply of this.
Anyone want some? Well, you said your
Readily
dad
on
did that
demand.
too. What did he say with your mom? He made a comment to your mom about that or something?
The classic story is a homeless guy was like, can I, my dad and mom were walking home with leftovers, and the homeless guy was like, can I have the leftovers? And he goes, I'd give you my wife before the leftovers.
Oh, that's amazing. That is hilarious,
Yes. Your dad sounds like a
real romantic.
Husband.
Yeah.
There you go.
So let's do a game. You ready?
Okay. Let's do it.
We're gonna
All
play. It's called Petty or Prudent, and basically people write in. They write in about a scenario they're going through, and the breakup happened, and afterwards, did they act in a petty way or a prudent way?
Okay, I like it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Let's
do
get into it.
All right, you can weigh in, and if you have your own petty or prudent, you can let us know. We can weigh in on it.
And go watch Rachel's special right now. It's called Big Guy. It's on Netflix. Stream it now.
Big guy.
Big Guy.
Dear J&J, love your pod and always look forward to new episodes. I'm eager to hear your thoughts on this post-breakup territorial dispute. My 5-year-long relationship recently ended. I initiated it. The breakup was long and dragged out, and we attempted to maintain some level of friendship after. For example, he helped me move and therefore knows where I live. Somewhere around this time, he moved into my neighborhood of a large city and started working out at my gym. Bumping into one another regularly served as a continuous reminder of a failed relationship, and I was starting to resent him for invading my space. Sorry. All communication stopped after he acquired a new girlfriend. I would see him now and then walking on my street, girlfriend in hand. So the next time I ran into him, without the new girl, I asked the ex to not use my street to promenade with his lady.
Use my street is
promenade. Out of respect to our history. He was visibly put off by the ask, but I haven't seen them on my street since. While I appreciate the reduced probability of running into my ex, I can't help but wonder, was I being petty here? Thank you. Can I get some space, Betch?
What do you think? Petty or prudent?
I
Get
think
off
it's
my
completely
street.
insane, but I also love it. It's a ludicrous thing. You don't own a street, bitch. It's crazy. But I admire her, and I like it.
Yeah, to me, this guy sounds like he was so whipped by her that like all the signs point to that in this. He helped her move. She broke up with him and then he helped her move.
Right.
Yeah.
That's
and
insane.
Tried to maintain a friendship after.
She sounds like the villain here. She broke up with him. She can't tell him and his girlfriend where they can walk.
Right.
It's an insane thing to ask somebody.
Petty.
She breaks up with him, and
Really
then
petty.
she says that he is a reminder of the relationship that didn't work out. It's like he doesn't even know what he has no.
But honestly, I think it's good for him to get off this block because obviously there's a part of him that loves it, like
I
the way
agree with
guys
that
love
too, yeah.
bitches, and he doesn't. For his present girlfriend, this is a good call for everyone. She did everybody a favor because he's still flapping around in bed, beating to her. I believe.
Well,
Let's go to a caller.
I mean, they're walking down a street that he knows she lives on, holding hands.
Yeah.
It is kind of crazy.
And he
of
went to
him.
her, he signed up for the gym that she goes to. That's also
Yeah.
weird. But I also think it's like when you break up with someone, you don't get to make the rules of like where they do or do not go.
Your next chapter. This bitch should teach a class, though. I love it.
Well, I'm going more towards prudent. Like, there's so much here from this guy of what he's doing that
Fine,
you go
but, like-
that you go get away from me. Like, give me some fucking room
I think,
here.
but she's out of line. I agree with Jordana. No, I agree with Jordana that she's out of line. But like to say that is hysterical. You don't own a block in New York.
Oh,
my-
it's
yeah, my turf.
hilarious.
Yeah,
That's somebody that comes from a lot of money that you think you own the street you live on. That's like some generational wealth arrogance.
Right. Well, let's switch it up a bit. What if she had been dumped? Would she be petty for asking him to not?
I think if she's dumped, then it's prudent.
I
If
agree.
she was dumped and she was so heartbroken, he's walking by with his new girlfriend. They see
If he
each
doesn't
other.
need
and she
to
goes,
take that block, and I guess it's how you ask it. Like if she was like, "Listen, it's really hard for me to run into. If you can try to avoid like walking up and down the block
Right.
with
Yeah.
your current girlfriend." Like I get that. That seems a little more, when
The-
you've been the one
so-
freshly dumped, more
I
reasonable.
agree.
So
I
the
think it's
dumping
weird that he does
matters.
it, but I also think I would never say anything.
I would never say anything.
That's crazy.
It's. I mean, for this
insane.
woman, this.
Yeah.
Also, but I also wouldn't
She
ask.
lives in another universe.
I wouldn't ask my ex-boyfriend, who I dated for 5 years, that I broke up with, to help me move. She seems very ballsy.
Right.
Yeah,
I
she's
mean,
very
yeah.
ballsy.
Right?
Yeah. I feel like I was thinking about it. I was like, 2 guys have helped me move, but I think it's because they wanted me out.
So they helped you move out of there. Oh, no guy will ever. I mean, we saw that in with The Bachelor, right? When in like his expose, someone wrote that he was
Right.
that she like twisted her ankle because he was helping her move out of the house when
Trying
he
to get
broke
rid
up
of
with
her.
her.
Yeah, because I moved to New York with this guy who like dumped me pretty soon after like having me move in with him, which is so obnoxious. And again, didn't expect the dump. And then my dad had to come back and like get
Help
me
you move
And
out?
like it was one of the darkest laps of my dumb life.
Did he get out of there? Was he like watching?
And he was like helping my dad a lot and like chatting with him. I'm like, this should be more
That's
uncomfortable
annoying.
for you.
Right.
Yeah.
he
Why
was
don't you feel
big-
ashamed?
Yeah,
Right.
you should
Right.
be rocking with shame right now.
Why aren't you scared of my dad?
But I mean, he was in a band called Dick Sister, so whatever.
I think you should. I think
Not
you
a
should
lot
have
of shame there.
I think there should be like a standard fund where if you break up with someone, you kind of just have to pay them so that they can like take care of all the things that they need to do to deal with the fact that you broke up with them.
If,
like
if
that.
the fun,
At least a
I
gift
would,
card.
I
Yeah.
would love that. If you
To
could
U-Haul.
just, if you could break up with someone and you're like, hey, listen, I don't have to hear from you again.
I paid
If
the
I just
fee,
give
right.
$1,000 to
Like a lease break
not,
fee.
right, to
guy
not
friend- a
deal
guy
with you,
friend of
I would pay
mine-
double.
A guy friend of mine hooked up with somebody. I'll tell you who it is after. Hooked up with somebody who afterwards sent him a Venmo request, like for her last flight there, because he was like on his way to kind of blowing her off, and she sent him a Venmo request for like the flight and like an itemized receipt.
She went
for
to
their
go visit
last
him?
hang. Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
That's petty, but if she went there, he broke up with her when she got there. I think that's fair. She did pay for the ticket.
It's amazing. It's amazing.
He
A
should have
Venmo
offered.
request.
I would have paid for
Should've offered.
the Uber.
What's that?
Here's money for I'll get the Uber. That's my,
Right.
I'm always up for an Uber payment.
I mean, but yeah, I have had a guy move me twice right out of his life.
So he moved you out of the apartment that you shared.
Yes. Although I
Okay.
will say,
And
with
he
that
broke up with
last
you.
guy that moved me, the last guy that dumped me, he did want to get back together later, which felt nice. Yeah, it's always nice when they're like, they kind of sniff a little bit later on.
So you lived together and then he broke up with you and then he wanted to get back together after that?
Yeah.
That's crazy because I feel like if you break up with someone when you live together,
You know
it's
everything
very
about
much
them.
like
Yeah, and why you shouldn't be with them.
yes.
Well,
that's
and
crazy.
all, I mean, it's you hear about people getting remarried to the people they divorced. Like,
Yeah.
Also
like
crazy.
that's as crazy. That's the same phylum.
that
of
never
human,
works.
You know,
I feel like they always get divorced a second time.
I feel like most guys, after they break up with me, look pretty relaxed overall. Like they always look at their next relationship. When I'm like, I'm always like trying to sense some sort of discomfort, but they seem like they're in a good place.
They're doing okay. Oh, that's the worst.
But what I will say that I do get some people after like really giving me a good finite dumping that are like, hey. And I think it's just because I'm not a lot of things, but I'm a fun hang. So I don't know if they think that like, I don't think he necessarily wanted me back fully, but he's probably like, I'll have a laugh with that animal.
that rings very true also though. I feel like that's when guys come back, it's never like it's never like in the movies where they're like coming back with the ring. They're coming
Yeah.
back to be like, you want to like hang?
Yeah.
remember when we used to sit on the couch and
That was
laugh?
so much
Let's get back
fun.
to that.
Yeah.
yeah.
I don't think it was for the sex though, because nobody's ever told me I'm the best they've ever had. Nobody's been able to maintain eye contact and tell me that lie.
Yeah, it's pretty good.
Yeah, nobody's ever. But yeah, for this lady, I'd say she's out of line, but I like it. I don't know what answer
Petty.
that is.
Petty.
Yeah.
Listen, Rachel Feinstein, thank you for coming on the show.
Thank you. This was
fantastic.
so much fun, you guys.
Everyone go follow Rachel. She is on tour. You can go to rachel-feinstein.com for show and ticket info. But go. The special's waiting for you. Big Guy.
It's so
on
funny.
Netflix.
I've seen
Hilarious.
it. Guys, check it out.
Thank you. It's called Big Guy, streaming now on Netflix. And you can also go see my tour dates at rachel-feinstein.com.
Boom.
The You Up podcast is produced by Candice Maniga and Shannon Sassone. Editing by Jorge Morales-Pico and Shannon Sassone. Social media by Candice Maniga. Be sure to follow at u.up.podcast on Instagram and send us your emails to uup@betches.com.